John Butt is on the Zoom call, and the rest of the board is here in the boardroom. We'll take a pledge of allegiance. Ready to begin? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to everyone who's joining us on Zoom. We have this time for speakers. We have 4 speakers that are actually here at the district office. Everyone who is speaking today will get a total of 4 minutes. We will not be exercising the 20-minute total. We will listen to everyone, limiting to 4 minutes each. We have the first, our first speaker. Lisa, could you tell us the names of the speakers can introduce themselves.
Hello, my name is James Cassidy. I'm going to be speaking on behalf of my wife first. She signed up. She was unable to make it. Asked her if she said it would be okay. Your board, my name is Amanda Morris Cassidy. I have 2 children attending schools. I want to acknowledge and provide a huge thank you for the response to the parents' request for an emergency meeting. Many parents, including myself, did not realize it was up for discussion to postpone October 19th date to transition from out of phase 3 into phase 2. I want to thank you very much. My primary concern is that the decision to go back to phase 3 was based off emotion and not facts. I did not hear any evidence that supported postponing phase 3. Based on the previous decision, all things were in order to move forward. Can you please speak specifically to any studies or new numbers that would indicate the reason for this change? What was the postponement based upon, and who specifically of the board introduced the measure to postpone phase 3? Please speak to this. In addition, are we considering global evidence as a nation in addition to local statistics? Many schools, including those in what are considered hotspots, are functioning quite well 5 days a week, with no demonstration of any children concerns or teacher passing transmissions back and forth. Please speak to this as well. As you're aware, many sources are citing approximately 4 out of 10 students have experienced mental health symptoms in response to online learning, and those already suffering have increased in symptoms, including suicidal ideation. In addition, the financial and emotional stress of homeschooling 1 or more children is having a negative impact on marriages, family dynamics, and subsequently negative impact on fiscally the community. Are you also taking into account those factors with the delay of phase 3 that you've implemented? How much percentage of mental health weighed in that additional data into your decision that we've had since at least August so far? In regards to the immersion program, based upon the methods adopted by the district to teach through a full immersion model, how is the district implementing the immersion plan on the 3 days a week that the children are not in school? Please elaborate on how this was taken into account when extending the phase 3 plan, and how the district is providing full immersion on the 3 days a week the children are at home. Were any experts consulted in how taking 3 days off of immersion and how that would impact the children in the class? Lastly, COVID is not going anywhere. Nothing will be different in November, December, or January, or June. So why are we postponing? The safety measures available to all of us are at their capacity, and based upon the data thus far, they are working. What do you expect will be different when we return full time that's not already there? And to finish, since we are talking about the health and safety of students and staff members, more students have been permanently injured physically as well as neurologically, including death from mandated vaccines, than is being impacted by COVID. So why are we mandating vaccines to get into school that we know have killed and maimed, per the CDC statistics that you'll find publicly on the website, yet know that COVID has not negatively impacted students? But we are closing schools limited education, please consider the logic in making your decision. That's it for her. My name is James. Introduce myself. I'll fire away as fast as I can because I'm a little bored. I'll fire away. Thanks for the opportunity. My wife kind of already expressed that. We're protesting out on the corner. I met with Holly for the first time. I appreciate your time. What I did ask is what was the number one concern of the board, and she said safety. What specific data points, tables, facts, sources did you use when you considered safety as an issue? She was unable to provide me with any, so let me provide you with some. Population of San Diego County for the census in 2016 was 3.338 million. Right now it's estimated to be 3.4 million. I use that regularly. COVID cases in San Diego County, 53,063 for the New York Times, October 18th, 2020. Deaths in San Diego County, of the 3.4 million are 857 total cases. That is all ages combined. The probability of getting coronavirus and dying in San Diego County of all ages, based on those statistics, is 0.025%, 2/100ths of a percentage point. 42% of the individuals that died in the United States have come from nursing facilities and hospitals. To subtract out the 42% of that, this statistic goes down to 0.015%, 1/100th of a percent possibility of contracting coronavirus in San Diego County and dying. Probability of being struck by lightning in your lifetime, almost as equal as dying from coronavirus, per National Geographic. Deaths in San Diego County of children between the ages of 0 and 19 is 0. Repeat that, 0. Deaths in San Diego County between the ages of 20 and 59, teachers, administrators, 124 deaths. Tragic, 124 of the 3.4 million population of San Diego County. What safety concerns are you really talking about? The fear is illogical. Let's talk about essential workers. The whole world considers teachers and administrators to be essential to our civilization. We consider you to be superheroes, the same way we consider firemen, policemen, hospital workers. Teachers and administrators on the survey said that 74% of these administrators prefer to stay with phase 2. I wonder why. I'm sorry, but they are essential workers. That's a career that they chose, and like the other superheroes listed on the flyer that the schools produce, they were listed there as a superhero. Now that we've established that they're essential and that education is essential, we need to discuss the definition of entitlement. Entitlement, for the definition of Google Dictionary, the fact of having the right to something, the amount of which a person has the right, the belief that one is inherently deserving of privileges or special treatment. Essential workers are working through 2020. Policemen, firemen, Home Depot workers, Walmart workers, working through 2020. What makes teachers and administration think that they're any different? Entitlement. What makes them think that they can pressure the board to make any decisions in this matter? Entitlement. Even with strong unions, they do not get a choice. They do not understand that the overall good of the society is more important than an individual situation of one. They do not get to give feedback. There's going to be a couple more minutes. They do not get to give.
No, James, 4 minutes is what you get, and you have it.
I understand. I was the first one waiting for 30 minutes. I'm almost done. Give me just a second. They do not get to give feedback. They are essential and must do what is best for the overall well-being of society. And it's essential that they get the children back 5 days a week. Anything other than that is entitlement. There is no magic bubble surrounding the teachers to make them immune for having to work. They are just being entitled, and the belief that they have a choice.
James, you're just going on about this.
Your decision as a board must base on facts, not entitlement of essential workers that don't have a choice on how our children's education should be ran.
Thank you, James.
One last point. You must make a decision what is best for the education not the educator. I'll repeat that one last time.
We heard it the
You
first
must
time.
make the decision what's best for the education, Ms. Holly, not the educator.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, you can take your mask off, it doesn't record very well without it.
Hi guys, my name is Sarah, I'm a little nervous. Do I sit here or right now?
Okay, Mike.
I just want to thank you guys for letting me, speak. I'm speaking because I just wanted to say thank you to Riverview. First of all, my daughters go to Riverview, and we are over the moon, just ecstatic with the program. And, sorry.
It's okay.
The reason we chose it, was because it is so great. It's unique, and it's a different program than any program, in a district in San Diego. The reason why it's so unique is because it's full immersion. And, I've seen my child just excel and grow from the kindergarten. She's now in third grade. And I've seen her flip. And I've seen the program that we have, I'm so sorry, that we built to love, and the teachers are amazing. But I've seen all these years of hard work, and it's slipping away. And it's sad, and it's a shame because that was what drew us to, this district and to this program, was its uniqueness and its full immersion. Without a full 5-day immersion, it's just not working. 2 days is just not enough for full immersion, and my daughter is in kindergarten, and they are amazing. Her teacher has gone above and beyond, and the staff there is amazing. And we appreciate everything, but it's just not the same as what my daughter had experienced. My husband is an ICU nurse. He's been on the COVID unit, dealing with COVID patients daily. We were scared, like this virus, we were very scared at the beginning. He moved out for 2 months because he didn't want to bring it home to us. So we take this very seriously. Definitely not something that we don't consider the safety. However, we're learning new things, and we're learning ways to protect ourselves. Not one person on his unit has contracted this disease, because they protect themselves. They wear masks, they hand wash. It can be done. It can be done safely. So I'm here to ask you to please consider letting these kids have these experiences that they need greatly. Let this program work. It's been amazing, and people notice our uniqueness for our community. And I'm sorry to get so emotional. I didn't think I would, but I know this is like high charts and emotions for everybody, and I really, truly want to thank you guys for listening to us, and I appreciate everything that you guys are going through, and I do sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, want to thank the teachers, and we love them, and we do want them protected, but we also know that we truly believe it can be done, so we would like it to be done. And that we could just all work together to come up with a way. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. We didn't catch your name.
My name is Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Go ahead, if you can state your name first and then, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Joanna. So we're here because the schools have been closed since early March, and the district has had 8 months to implement a plan, and over 1,000 schools in San Diego County have already opened up in August with the waivers. More and more are opening each day. Are we not as good as them? Are we not as prepared? The data is on our side. Schools are not super spreaders, and we can reopen. We were all under the impression that you were going to follow the guidelines to reopen. However, it's become clear that you've abandoned that plan, leaving 5,000 students without direction, giving them fear and anxiety. And yet you're talking about waiting until the end of December to talk about reopening. You're making the earliest date almost a full year of no school. And yes, I say no school because it's learning equals. Our children deserve better. All the requirements have been met to fully reopen. 2 days a week simply does not work. Our smaller classes, such as IEP and special needs classes, should have been open back in August along with the waivers, and there's no reason for these not to be back full. The survey only polled about 25% of parents, and only 1,600 people participated in the survey. Each day the schools are not reopened to full-time instruction is hurting our children, as they no longer receive the quality of education or the efficient education that they deserve. We have paid into this for our children to receive a proper education, and right now, if you live in a neighboring city, you can get an education. If you have money for private school, you're getting an education. We, the parents, need a date to know when our students can return to full-time instruction so that we can make proper decisions so our children can get an education now. IEP classes should be back now. We have waited too long. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanna. We will now hear from the speakers that are on Zoom.
Do you have names, Lisa, or what? Okay.
Christy, can you unmute, please?
Hello.
We can hear you.
Oh, perfect. My name's Christine, and I just had a few notes. I did want to say thank you for giving us this opportunity. Also, that we are from Riverview, and we absolutely love our teachers and the program. And the fact that our children are learning Spanish is just amazing right now, and that's literally why we moved back to Lakeside, was for the immersion program. My third grader, I know you guys asked previously in the last meeting, there were some questions about what the work looked like and what their academics and testing and things like that looked like. And from what I'm hearing is that that it's voluntary to actually test the children at this point, and also that 2 days of instruction a week is not full immersion. That's not enough for an English speaking class, much less an immersion class. To give you an idea, my kindergartner, for the last however many weeks we've been in school, has been doing packet work and YouTube videos when he wasn't in the classroom, which, I mean, for any student, that's not an education. This district has prided itself in August saying that you would use science and data to determine our next steps. But from what we saw at the last meeting and the emotional survey, I felt like there wasn't any data provided at all, that we didn't hear any information about the rates going up in San Diego, even in Lakeside, anything like that. It was 100% emotional, and I don't think that survey really was able to judge what the community thought. If you look at how many kids are in school right now, I feel like that's the number of people who would want to go back. Based on the EdJoin website, we have about 5,000 students. So that's about 10,000 parents And if only 1,000, or I believe it was 1,600 parents provided information onto that survey, that's not even a quarter of them. So I don't even think that survey would really work for the parents' side of it. I know the teachers was, but not the parents. Just one second, I'm trying to read my notes here as well. Just that also, the CDC, a few things that I've also read is that the CDC mentions that low-income areas will suffer the most in this pandemic. And we have almost 40% of our district on free lunch or discounted lunch. And that from the success that we've seen in other districts like Del Mar, that it seems like that stereotype is going to continue if we don't stop it here. We need to take control, and we need to put the kids back as our priority, and we need to educate them in whatever language they're learning in. But of course, from my own perspective from the Spanish program is we're not teaching them a language 2 days a week. I feel like we're really doing them a service at this point. But again, thank you for everything. We are very, very excited to be back in school just the 2 days. So maybe there's an option that we can find in between. Maybe we can start doing full days on Wednesday and see how it goes, or find another in between, or stay home. Everyone's home Wednesday and everyone just goes 4 days a week. I mean, there's got to be other options than only 2 days a week, is what my opinion would be. But thank you again, and I hope that everybody stays healthy.
Thank you. Zach Walensky?
Hi, yeah, Sat. Hi, everybody.
Zach.
Hi there. Well, I am a mom of 2 children at Riverview who are in 2nd and 4th grade. I have a business degree from SU, go Aztecs, and I work in marketing. I feel very strongly that we should stay in the hybrid learning phase until the board can definitively determine that it's safe for students and teachers to return in person full time. As a concerned parent, I've been watching closely to what other school districts have been doing for their reopening strategies. I know that San Diego Unified has partnered with UCSD to follow their science-based guidelines. And because of that, they're taking a bit longer to reopen. Just yesterday, San Diego County hospitals reported a new spike in COVID-19 cases in young children and teens. Oh, yeah? Oh, sorry, thought you said something. In the last 2 weeks, 125 of those who tested positive were exposed at school. It's one thing to have kids in classes at half capacity with the ability to social distance and with a full day to thoroughly clean the classrooms on Wednesdays, but there's simply no way to maintain safety guidelines at full capacity. Some parents are under the impression that class sizes will be kept small, but I don't see how that's possible. So I'd like to hear from the board what the class sizes are proposed to be in phase 3. So if we rush into phase 3, we may end up with outbreaks that cause us to go back to distance learning full time, which would also be a highly disruptive possibility. The pain that we feel as parents right now, especially working parents, is real and it's honestly horrible. But to put our wonderful teachers, children, and community at a higher risk of COVID outbreaks and potentially higher death is just not worth it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. My name's Erin Clark. I am the mother of Holden Ashmore, who is a TK student in the HomeFlex program. And I see that there's a happy birthday sign, so happy birthday to whoever's birthday it is. I am here today to speak on in favor of continuing the phase 2 hybrid model. I very much appreciate the survey that the board conducted of parents and teachers. I saw that there was no majority among the parents for any particular direction, although there was a clear majority preference among the teachers to remain in hybrid on the grounds that it is what would stay safe. A few points I wanted to make. What we have right now is working. The district has successfully been bringing kids back to school, and I think it is of paramount importance that the district continue to make decisions that will keep kids in school rather than move too quickly and then boomerang back to a full closure, which is the opposite of what people want. People are right now to point to the relatively low rates of infection in San Diego. That is because of the precautions that are being taken. But once we stop taking those precautions, other examples that we can point to show us that the infection rates likely will rise and lead to consequences that we don't want, not only for schools, but for businesses throughout our community. In terms of current data, which folks were asking for, the previous speaker very accurately pointed to the current data released by the county showing a spike in cases among children and teens. Also in Vista Unified, 2 days ago, they reopened in a full model, which is akin to what the Lakeside Phase 3 would include. And already 2 days in, they have positive cases of students with COVID, and now they have at least 4 teachers quarantining. If that spirals much more, they will be forced entirely back to distance learning. They chose unwisely not to open in a hybrid model and are now paying the consequences. I don't want to be like Vista. I want to stay like Lakeside. And I want to really hone in on what we'll lose. As a home flex parent, my son is not on campus twice a week as folks are who are in the hybrid model, but home flex has now begun to be able to implement in-person programs. Just yesterday, there was an amazing event on campus. Big shout out to the principal and all 3 teachers in home flex. Kids, including my son, brought their pumpkin book report. There were science experiments. It was an amazing event, outdoors masked. That is what we will lose if schools are forced to close full time because we rush too quickly back to stacking kids in classes where they cannot fit with effective social distancing. I also would really hate to see school openings cause a spike countywide, which then forces the entire county back into purple, and small businesses have to close. We might have schools open, but business is closing. And as the wife of a small business owner, that's something I care about a lot. I do not want to see students become spreaders who then prevent our economic recovery from continuing. And I think that should be a real concern. The school board has an obligation to represent all constituents in a community, not just parents. There's a reason that it isn't just parents who vote for you. People who don't have kids vote for you. And that's because they are affected by the decisions that you make. It's hurtful to me to hear some of my neighbors be so cavalier about the fact that the only, quote, people who are likely to die of COVID are older or immune compromised. I care about old people and I care about immune compromised people, even if I'm not either. And those people vote for you too. The obligation to consider their safety concerns, not only the concerns of parents who are only looking at their own circumstances and not that of the broader community. Kids do not live in bubbles. When
Erin, your time is up.
I will be respectful and listen to you, unlike the other speaker. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can, Tina.
Okay. Yes, my name is Tina Corson, and I have a 3rd grader at Linville Park Elementary. And I want to thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak. Last year, we understood the need for distance learning as we discovered what COVID was, and we worked to flatten the curve. And during this time, our daughter attended all the Zooms. She turned in almost every one of her assignments. Her resource teacher at the time suggested that she not be on her computer for more than 15-minute intervals. She is now expected to be on a device for a full school day per week. She has an IEP, and she often has trouble focusing and staying on task. Several independent assignments include YouTube learning. I watched a video with her on adverbs. At the end, she couldn't articulate one thing she'd learned about an adverb. I asked what she was thinking about while the video played. She sincerely answered, thought she was thinking about the video. Our 8-year-old's education is similar to a college student. Goes to school twice a week, she receives instruction, and then she's expected to work on her own for 3 days. She deserves to be taught by a teacher with engagement from other students. We chose hybrid this year so she could go back to full in-person learning on October 19th. According to Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Johnson, in an interview on with Channel 7 on October 19th, there has been 1 case of COVID since the schools went to phase 2. The hybrid model has gone well. We never imagined Lakeside Unified would not go to phase 3. Our daughter needs to be in school. We feel so strongly about this, we have applied to a private school and she is next in line on the waiting list. We don't know if that will be 1 week or 1 year, so we continue to advocate for her public school as well. Distance learning is not effective for her. She has the responsibility of school and the stress of trying to complete assignments with 2 frustrated working parents doing their best to help her, but none of the benefits of school. She misses her friends, the playground, her teachers. School is her community. We believe everyone is trying to make distance learning work, but what is best for our children is a return to full-time in-person learning. If there are parents not comfortable having their children return to school, the full distance is still an option. The HESA school district has moved to full-time in-person instruction. Vista Schools opened on Tuesday. He announced last night that they're going to in-person after Thanksgiving. Please consider moving Lakeside into phase 3 as originally discussed. Our children need to be in school. Thank you.
Thank you. Arturo Martinez.
Good afternoon. Arturo Martinez, parent of 2 students in the Lakeside Unified School District. First, I'd like to thank my fellow parents and activists in attendance to make sure we voice our concerns. Their enthusiasm and proactiveness are greatly appreciated. Second, I'd like to thank the Lakeside Unified School District Board of Trustees, Superintendent Andrew Johnson, and the Lakeside Unified School District staff to give us the opportunity to speak via this forum. In addition, thank you for what you have done thus far during these trying times. Most importantly, in my case, special thanks are necessary to Tierra del Sol Principal Leslie Hardiman, all the TDS teachers and staff, Riverview Principal Grace Cox, and all the Riverview teachers and staff. Their leadership and tremendous tireless work has been exemplary and thankless. I know I speak for a lot of our parents that your hard work from all the teachers do not go unnoticed, the hard work. These thank yous are in general to our LUSD teachers. Thank you so very much. We know this situation is not solely on you. You're the front line of our children, your students. Personally, I speak on behalf of my family that I do not agree with the unfair criticism of these hardworking teachers and the LUSD staff. Sometimes these complaints are done without facts. In transition, I want the schools to open up. They need to open up in a manner where our children, staff, and community are safe and not affected by the current pandemic. I am sure there is no short answer, but without complicating your answers to my questions, please simplify as much as you can. What is holding us back from opening up at 100%? Are there other parties involved? For example, the governor, the San Diego County of Education, the teachers union. If consideration to open up at 100%, let's be transparent and let's give out tentative dates. If escalating beyond the Lakeside Unified School District is necessary, with whom should we direct our concerns? Finally, when considering opening up, please take into consideration, if possible, how we as parents can help as volunteers in different programs, such as extracurricular activities, cleaning the campus, cleaning the classrooms. Based on the interested number of attendees, you have a good solid base. We're a strong community with the willingness to help. Thanks again.
Thank you. Serena Collier?
Hello, can you hear me?
Ken?
Hi. Good evening. My name is Serena Collier. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak about the reopening of our schools. I've been an educator for the past 11 years in the elementary classroom and now in the college classroom. I come to you tonight not only as a fellow advocate for high quality education, but also as a parent of 2 students in 3rd and 1st grade, enrolled in the Mandarin Immersion program at Riverview International Academy. While I understand the concerns voiced at the last board meeting, I feel it is necessary to move on to phase 3 in our district. Tonight, I ask the board members of Lakeside Union School District to begin making plans to transition to phase 3, with the option for families to return back to campus 5 days a week or continue with distance learning. Anyone who has ever worked professionally with children understands the immense need for routine and stability in their lives. Those of us who took the time to set up play dates with our children when they were barely walking around understand the need for socialization within children their age. And to those of us who have been quarantined in our homes for months at a time, we understand the impact isolation can have on mental health. We have been living in this ever-changing new normal for 7 months now, but it is time for those comfortable to do so to return back to school 5 days a week. I understand the apprehension of our board, looking around San Diego's 42 school districts and seeing that only a handful are open for full-time instruction. However, I believe that our district has strong justification to return to full-time on-campus instruction due to the immersive structure of our schools. The majority of our district offers language immersion programs. However, in the current hybrid model, children are not receiving an immersive experience. As participants in the Mandarin program, my children have gone from receiving about 15 hours of language a week to now about 6 hours. Spanish immersion students have gone from about 28 hours a week of immersion to about 10. This current model is not an immersive experience. We enrolled in this program so that our children would be immersed in their target language at an age where they can fully absorb the language. This is the main reason why I feel our district in particular should be planning to move on to phase 3 sooner rather than later. Some are voicing concerns for the health of their children and staff if they are unable to socially distance in the classroom. The California Department of Public Health recommends wearing a face covering when social distancing is not possible. I am not asking students to return back to school without masks. If students are wearing masks in the classroom and have partitions between them and their peers, which they do at our schools, then proper safety precautions are being followed to prevent the spread of the virus. Finally, I think we can all agree that California has some of the most cautious reopening guidelines in America. Our state government has put high standards in place to ensure that we reopen safely when it's appropriate. Based on our metrics, San Diego County has the option to open our schools, even under these extremely cautious guidelines. Again, I'd like to reiterate, I'm not asking that we reopen our schools to function like we used to. I am in support of more outdoor learning time, wearing masks in class, and frequent hand washing opportunities. With the safety precautions our district has taken immense efforts to put into place, I feel it is safe to move forward in reopening for families who feel comfortable doing so. The national education system locked down 7 months ago. However, this current structure is not sustainable for the long-term future, especially in a district that advertises language immersion programs as a priority in education. It is time for us to make concrete plans for reopening and commit to them. Commit to providing the option for students to return to school 5 days a week, and commit to providing the high-quality education our district is known for. So I urge the board of Lakeside Union School District to make plans to move into phase 3 as soon as possible. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Eva Wynn? Viva Wynn.
Viva, you need to unmute yourself.
Viva, can you unmute yourself?
Hi.
Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. My name is Viva Win. I'm a parent.
Viva, we can't hear you anymore. Bill can't hear you. We'll bring the next one in and try to get back to you, Viva.
They should only accepting the kids that go to school on that day, meaning cohort A kids can go to ESS on Monday and Tuesday only, and cohort B kids can go on Thursday and Friday only, because right now the only 20 spots available at Winter Garden and all spots taken, but not all those kids in ESS actually go to school on the day they are there, which is taking away spots from students who go to school and actually need ESS on the day. Because ESS charge full price, flat rate price, $150 per week. Doesn't matter if the kids go 2 days or 3 days or 5 days a week. So of course, most of the working parents just put their kids there for 5 days. But ESS is not a child care. It should be before and after care for kids who go to school only. So I think ESS should charge like a flat rate of $75 for 2 days school instead of flat rate of $150 for 5 days. So that way they still get the same amount of money from kids cohort A and kids cohort B. That's all I need to say. It's regarding the ESS. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Miranda?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes?
Okay, my name is Miranda and I have 3 kids within the district in elementary and middle school. I have twins that are in 2nd grade and I have a son that's in 7th grade at LMS. First, I want to applaud teachers and the wonderful school staff at Lakeside Farms and LMS and tell them how much parents appreciate them and all they're doing to try to teach in these new and unfamiliar ways. Teachers may be working twice as hard, but unfortunately distance learning is not successful and the kids are not progressing in their learning and knowledge. I am a full-time essential worker, single mom, and now also a teacher of 3. The distractions of being at home paired with minimal or no involvement from teachers on distance learning days, a heavy load of busy work being thrown at them, plus a mom that has a full-time job to do as well, makes for what I can only call the impossible. The board is not realistic about what distance learning is like on families. Until you personally live it, breathe it, and see and feel the impacts, you should not be making siloed decisions about it. Some kids have little or no support at home and are left alone all day while parents have to work to provide for their families. This is not equal access to education. You are failing these kids right now. Private schools are open if you are wealthy enough to pay for an education. Vista and HISA are open. You claim that continuing phase 2 is about safety, but the safety precautions in place are working. NPR published an article this week that I sent to the board that said the risks of reopening schools have been highly exaggerated and supported this claim with real data from around the US and the globe. Aren't parents the ones who truly have their kids' holistic well-being at the forefront of our minds? There are no unions in our back pockets, no hidden agendas. Parents are responsible for balancing all of our children's health factors, including the needs of social, emotional, and psychological. The impacts of school closure to these kids are undoubtedly severe and immeasurable at this time. Those that do not want to send their kids back should not make the decisions for the rest of us and will actually help in keeping classroom capacities lower. The fact is, COVID is not going away, so we need to find a way to get kids a full-time quality education now in this new world. It shouldn't take the more than 50% of parents that want their kids back in school pulling their kids out of the district and thus hitting the district in the financial pockets where it apparently matters to get some real movement in this. But trust me, that is being discussed. Show kids you actually care by putting them first. Make them feel wanted again. I don't want to hear my son say that teachers don't want me anymore, ever again. Reopen schools and give them the education that taxpayers are paying for and that they deserve. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Autumn Ellison?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes?
Okay. Thank you, board members, for allowing me to speak tonight. I would like to also thank the entire school district staff. I've been amazed by the way they've stepped up this year to embrace duties they never dreamed of doing. Not only have they stepped up, but they've done so with grace and a smile on their face, even though they're likely overwhelmed and exhausted behind closed doors. You can tell how much they love these kids in this community, so thank you to the amazing staff. I'm here tonight to speak in support of going to phase 3. We've been reacting to this pandemic for more than 7 months, but it's time that we now learn to live cautiously within it by taking the middle path. While we need to be careful with our behavior, it is time to reopen the essential parts of our community, including schools. My reasoning for this is twofold. Remaining closed is actually worse for public health than going to a safe phase 3 plan. And number 2, distance learning is just not working. For my first point, many studies show that remaining closed is actually worse for public health than COVID. There has been an increase in physical, sexual, and emotional abuse, an uptick in both alcoholism and drug abuse, obesity, and mental health across all age groups, including children, related to closures from COVID. All of these issues are very concerning because they're dangerous to kids and quite deadly. A leader from the World Health Organization, Dr. David Nabarro, says, and I quote, "We in the World Health Organization do not advocate lockdowns as a primary means of control of this virus. The only time we believe a lockdown is justified is to buy you time to reorganize, regroup, rebalance your resources, but by and large, we'd rather not do it." When you look further into his recommendations, he argues for us taking what he calls a middle path, meaning that we have to learn how to coexist with this virus, but in a way that is not associated with high levels of suffering and death. So what does that look like in schools? Some people argue that if we go to phase 3, it will cause COVID outbreaks. Well, let's look at local evidence. Del Mar School District opened on September 8th with 5 days of instruction. There have been some cases of COVID reported by students in their district, but they followed swift safety protocols, and those cases did not lead to any outbreaks at their school, much like we saw here in Lakeside with our one single case. The CDC recommends wearing masks to prevent the spread of COVID in settings where social distancing is difficult because they work. If we open to phase 3 and we continue to implement students wearing masks, washing hands on a regular basis, staying in their cohorts, using partitions in classrooms, and increasing their outdoor learning time, we can open as safely as possible and take that important middle path that is vital to the public health of our community. I also want to address distance learning itself. I was in support of distance learning in the spring as a temporary solution while preparing a safety plan for our schools. But here we are in October and it's not working for most. I am speaking tonight not only as a parent, but as a distance teacher myself. For those of you that don't know me, I'm an online school teacher and have been for 3 years. I love distance learning as an educator, and I think it's a vital program for some students, but it's not a good fit for most. I see this every year with my own students, and now I'm seeing this unfold in real time with my own children. Kids at home need to have the support of a learning coach, usually a parent. Most of the parents I have spoken to report that they feel confused and overwhelmed. They don't know how to help their children, particularly language immersion students, and that their children are having daily tech issues, including not being able to access various content and or working on assignments, but not being able to submit them due to a tech glitch. This temporary fix is just not working as a long-term solution. COVID is not a one-sided problem. I plead with this board to take the middle path. Implement and stick to a plan to reopen phase 3 when we return from Thanksgiving break. That gives schools a month to implement necessary precautions to open as safely as possible. It is the best solution to help combat the many ugly sides
Your time is up.
Okay.
Thank you. Marcy Howard.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to address the board. My name is Marcy Howard and my child is in 3rd grade at Riverview Elementary. We love going to school in Lakeside. We chose to send our kids here for the amazing language immersion program. I'm disappointed in the board's decision to remain in phase 2 until January and possibly longer. What will be different in January? COVID is not going away. It has been 223 days since our children have been in school full time. Now that kids are allowed on campus, it's unacceptable that they can only attend and receive teacher instruction on 2 shortened days per week. How can you expect teachers to cover a whole year's of curriculum this way? For this reason, my mother, who's a retired teacher, is having to supplement my third graders' education from home. I know teachers are working harder this year than they ever have. We love and appreciate our teachers. They are essential. Just like doctors, firefighters, hospital workers, daycare providers, janitors, Costco employees, the list goes on and on. I understand people need to choose what is best for their families and situation, but most of these employees have chosen to go back to work because they are essential. Many schools across the country have fully reopened without any problems. East County's Christian Unified School District has been open full-time at full capacity since September. With 3 campuses, over 1,000 students, and an average class size of 24 kids, they have not had to shut down any classrooms or school sites due to an outbreak. Statistics have shown that children are at very low risk of severe illness or developing complications from COVID-19. Children and families who might have higher risk should continue to have the option to learn from home. The latest figures from Brown University researchers found a confirmed case rate amongst students of 0.14% in a database of nearly 1,300 open schools. The case rate for staff in those schools stands at 0.4%. 2 studies profiled on NPR recently found no consistent relationship between in-person schooling and the spread of coronavirus. I've pulled my oldest child from Lakeside School District so that he could attend middle school in person. He is thriving in his new middle school. I work from home as a daycare provider, so no way am I choosing to send my child back to school because I cannot keep him at home. Not all children have that luxury, and my heart breaks for those who are suffering at home. Children who don't have enough food to eat, children whose parents work full-time and have to leave them home alone to do their schoolwork, children who don't have good home lives and who rely on school as their happy and safe place. This is not okay. The youngest children face the lowest risk and are also the ones who have the hardest time with virtual learning. Let's start phase 3 in our elementary schools. Kids need to be learning in class. In-person learning provides for a better education and greater long-term social emotional welfare. Our children want to go back to school and they deserve better. To my friends who are teachers and employees in the district, I care about you and appreciate you. I know that you need to do what is best for you and your family, and please know that as parents, we need to do what is best for ours. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Marcy. Meryl, I'm not sure which. Meryl?
Is this for Mahalia Merrill or Jeremy? We've got 2 speakers in the house.
You can, Mahalia. Mahalia.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Mahalia Merrill, and I am a 6th grader in Lakeside. I wrote down my thoughts about reopening because I don't want to forget anything, so I will be reading from that. I'm speaking today because I don't think that it's safe for kids or teachers to return to school full-time until there aren't that many people with COVID in San Diego anymore. If we wait long enough, then the virus would die because there wouldn't be a host to help it spread. I have friends who go to school in person, and they have told me things that let me know it's not safe to go back full-time yet. From what my friends have told me, kids don't follow the guidelines all the time, like they should, and are usually close to each other in the halls, especially after lunch. And that's with only half of the kids on campus 2 days a week. Being a distance learning student, I have to zoom into my classes so I get to hear and see things that happen in the classroom. A couple of times I have heard one of my teachers say that students could take off their mask when responding to questions. Sometimes my teachers let kids come up to their desk when they need help, and they are not always keeping a safe distance like they should. Some of my friends and other kids that I used to go to school with go to birthday parties and other places and hang out with friends, and they're not always following the safety rules. I know this because I've seen pictures of them doing these things. My parents talked to me and my sister about what's going on, and they have told us about the risk of getting COVID. As proven many times, kids in general can get COVID. We need to enforce the rules more than we already do at school before thinking about moving forward and having all kids in school full time. Clearly, some kids forget about the guidelines for staying safe because they are kids and they're used to being able to hug and high five their friends when they see them. see them in person. Some kids' parents tell them that the virus is a hoax and there is nothing to worry about. There are a lot of people who have died from COVID, and that is not a hoax. It makes me angry and nervous for kids and teachers that there are parents saying stuff like this. If kids believe that this is a hoax and stop following the rules, they could get teachers and other kids sick. There was even a COVID case in our district, and that happened right after we started phase 2. The kid was in contact with many kids at school. Some of the kids were in contact with that kid did not stay at home for 2 weeks like they should have. I heard about that from kids who were in contact with that kid. If kids don't follow these very simple guidelines when they're only at school for 2 days a week, do you really think it would be safe to go to school 5 days a week? One last thing. As a distance learning student, I want to say how much I appreciate my teachers and all of the teachers. I am learning a lot in my classes and I even have straight A's in my classes. Distance learning is learning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mahalia. Now, maybe it's your dad that's going to speak now. Jeremy?
Sounds great. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I'm a parent to a 4th grader and a 6th grader, the 6th grader one you just heard from, and they're both doing great with distance learning. I've also been an educator for 20 years now, and I've seen the reality that takes place in the classrooms. I know for a fact that with a full return back to the classrooms, there is no way to keep children fully safe from the pandemic. The distancing that is possible in the classrooms under the hybrid is not physically possible at full capacity. That's unfortunate, but it's the reality that we're dealing with. Even in the hybrid, our county is seeing a surge of COVID cases among children. In fact, there was a CBS News report just the other day that listed Dr. Eric McDonald, the head of the county's Epidemiology and Immunization Services branch, and he directly tied the uptick in cases among young people to school reopenings. This is not being said to scare you, but to make sure that you're listening to the experts in the study of viral transmission. There was a CDC internal document over the summer that was leaked to the New York Times that listed full school reopening as the highest risk for viral outbreaks. Now, the loud voices behind the Reopen Now movement have volume and passion, but a lot of them are basing their push on pseudoscientific theories. Many are claiming YouTube videos as evidence, saying that masks cause disease, that this is a pandemic and a hoax. The reality couldn't be further from the truth. Now, I implore you to ignore those claims. The idea that an elected board would contemplate catering to wild conspiracy theories is beyond me. And so far, you guys have been doing a great job of ignoring that. I appreciate it. Do we want to get life back to normal? Absolutely, we all do. Do we want our kids to have a normal childhood? Yes, obviously. But is it safe to do that now? The reality is that it's not. My family chose distance learning from day one because it provides the proper balance of safety, consistency, and education. Now, I know for a fact from experience that our teachers are working tirelessly, much harder than they have to when they're even in the classroom. And they're trying their best to provide a great experience for our children. Yes, despite what some people might be trying to explain to you, they are working. They're doing their jobs. Now, unfortunately, it's sad to me that some people would step to the microphone and suggest that we endanger their lives, the lives of our children, and push for a return against all scientific advice. I'm sorry, we can't do that, in my opinion. So I implore you to stick to your previous decision to continue with the current phase and base your decisions on science and the opinions of experts, not loud people who heard something that they liked in a viral video on YouTube or Facebook. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jeremy. Debbie Mark. Debbie?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. First, I'd like to thank the Lakeside District for the difficult decisions that you've had to make. It cannot be easy. We are all worried about so many things, that life is stressful, very, very stressful, but it's been proven that universities and several of the schools that have opened throughout the United States, they're closing down all of these states that have opened too quickly. We need to slow down. I agree with the last speaker about listening to the scientists. I have several children that work in the Lakeside School District, and I have several grandchildren that attend Lakeside School District. They are thriving this year, and it's not easy. One of them has a mother that is a teacher, and not only does she spend 3 of those days teaching and working 14 hours, she has to do the child's homework and cook, clean, all the other stuff that everybody else is facing right now. We're all in the same storm. We may be different boats, but we're all in the same storm. We need to rethink this. My children that aren't in the Lakeside School District wish they were. They're commending you for the way you're here. You have a chance. We have a chance in Lakeside to show all of San Diego County how it should be done. We need to give it more time. I just really truly believe we need to give it more time. And these parents that have all the time in the world to stand on street corners and cause a lot of havoc, I really wish they put their time into PTAs and getting groups together, study groups, play groups, babysitting groups. If they could put all that energy into finding a new way. Yes, COVID is going to be around a very long time, and until there's a vaccine, none will be safe. But it used to be when my children went to school that the PTAs played a huge role. Parents played a huge role in the children's education. I'd really like to see that happen instead of all the hate that's going on. Turn it around and make it something that's going to work for everybody. It takes a lot of people. It will take a lot of people to turn around what's happening right now. And the solution for depression and for what's going on in the home life at home, it all can't be solved at once, but it certainly could be solved a lot quicker if these groups could get together with the PTAs and with parent groups and with tutoring play groups, etc. There are ways for these children to have that sort of socialization that they need to have. They need to play. But I'm for you not opening yet. My youngest grandchild is, as I said, is thriving this year because the classrooms are small enough that she's getting the attention she needs. She's thriving at home. I know some children, they're not all the same. I know children aren't all the same. And some are going to be more difficult. And if the parents could put together some groups of parents that possibly aren't working, that can head a Zoom play group or head a Zoom tutoring group or head a Zoom language group. My daughter's in the immersion program and she's thriving there too. It's as though these 2 days give her so much more than the 5 days did because there were so many children in the classroom that she got lost in translation with everything. And she's thriving this year. There's no way you can pull a full classroom.
And your time is up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Scott Engel.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. My name is Scott. I am the father to a 5th grader and a 2nd grader. I've heard a lot of opinions, and I'd just like to say initially that I think it's time to advance to phase 3. While I understand you guys hold elected positions, none of us here are, or nor have any of the previous speakers, have any qualification in the medical field to make determinations whether we should go back to school or not. And I also heard someone recently mention science. The CDC, which is, if you don't know, the Community for Disease Control, even suggests that we should go back to school full time. Santee is going to be opening full time this month. One of their board members is an executive at Children's Hospital on the front lines and still voted for their schools to open. I think Lakeside has absolutely botched the implementation of distance learning. My kids have gone from completely engaged in school to crying every day, struggling, and not able to keep up without the consistent teaching. My daughter even wanted to be a teacher up until this year. Now she's crying twice a day and is really struggling with her work. Your choices have a direct impact on these children. Your decision to stay in hybrid learning, which is, in my opinion, not based on science, is causing lifelong issues for our children. And essentially, you guys are responsible for that. And lastly, one of the things I think you should really consider is that 20% of all child abuse cases are initiated from the school. The schools are the ones that notify authorities of these child abuse cases. And these are cases that are falling through the cracks because we're not allowing our children to go to school. If parents don't want their children to go to school, perfect. They can stay in full hybrid learning. But those that do want our children in school, I think we should be allowed to go to school. Thank you.
Thank you. Derek Clark. Clark. Jessa Smith.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, thank you.
Can you guys hear me? Okay, great. I am a fast talker and I'm gonna try to not do a full 4 minutes just to give you guys a little break. So I am a parent of 2 kids at Lakeview, a 5th grader and a 3rd grader, and I have a 7th grader at Tierra del Sol. But more importantly, I feel, not that my children are important, I am a campus aide. I work the lunch and I work the snacks at Lakeview. I don't know how many of you have had a chance to go to the campus at Lakeview, but I would like to say that I believe our school is setting a standard for how that should be run during this different time of COVID. I was a campus aide before COVID when we were at full capacity, and I am a campus aide now that we are at half capacity with cohorts A and B, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I would like to tell the parents that are listening, when I started, if you had asked me on September 21st, when we began going back to the phase 2 distance learning, I was pro opening up full time, let the kids go back. September 24th, my first day back at school, that changed dramatically. I know a lot of our advocates that have been speaking to tonight are talking about safety and about numbers and about COVID. I'm not going to talk about any of that. I'm going to talk about logistics. There is no way we can bring back full staff students with the current CDC guidelines, CDC suggestions, and social distancing, mask wearing that we currently are implementing at our schools. We have currently to do snack and lunch. We run snack time starting at 9:40 and we finish lunch at 1:35. That is with a full staff of campus supervisors implementing and actually having help us certain other on-site staff members to pick up where there are holes. There is no way. Our lunches, we used to put, 8 people at a table and that would give them elbow room and space to eat. We now can put 4 to 3 to 4 kids per table. We can do 1 grade per lunchtime with the classes at each table. There's no way to logistically go back unless we A, build more buildings, 2, expand our campuses, 3, hire more staff. None of that is going to change by November, and I don't necessarily foresee that changing by December. As a mom of 3 kids, I want my kids back in school full time. I don't think there's a parent that does not. Being on the other side of that, I would also like to point out, as the last speaker did, I have seen tremendous advances in what is able to happen on our campus. Some of our kids with emotional needs are seeing those met because we have more one-on-one time with those kids. We're able to engage with those kids through PE experiences and all kinds of activities. Like I said, I believe Lakeview is a shining light showing what can and should be done in our district. And I know some of you believe that too. Jackie's amazing. Anywho, seeing those kids come around, because I've seen them last year to this year, they have made significant strides in what they're able to accomplish because they've been given the opportunity to accomplish that. Where there's great responsibility also comes great possibility. And I see our kids rising to meet that possibility. I love that when I go into a class, it is like a 15-to-1 ratio. That is like a private school education in the public sector. Unheard of, super amazing. I am blown away by what our teachers are able to do. I am blown away by what we are able to accomplish on our school campus. I would also like to point out that as a parent, I tell my kids this all the time. If wishes were real, we wouldn't need rainbows.
Time is up.
Oh, dang it. I was hoping. All right. Well, have a great day. Thanks for listening, and go phase 2. Keep.
Thank you. Okay, could Nicolette Moe please raise your hand in the audience? And right now we're going to bring forward Crystal Grobner. Crystal Grobner and Nicole, please raise your hand.
Crystal Grobner's here.
Hi, Crystal.
Good evening and happy birthday. Thank you to everyone for taking this, giving us this opportunity to give our feedback. And I want to commend the board and Dr. Johnson and Dr. Reed for being really proactive and doing the impossible job of listening to all the staff and parents and trying to do the best thing in this impossible time. As we go into cold and flu season, I don't think this is the right time to go into phase 3. I thought that you guys did a great job of listening to everyone, taking as much feedback as you possibly could from all of your constituents. You have a new constituent now this year, which are people that are residents that have no children in the district. I met someone earlier this week on Facebook, not in real life, a woman who has no kids in the school district and very concerned about her health. How is she going to get groceries and go to the pharmacy if we do open up into phase 3? States who have opened full-time daily across the country, those are the states with the highest number of COVID deaths and COVID cases. And COVID is now the #3 cause of death in the nation. I do think that California has done a great job of being proactive and being cautious, and I don't think that we should rush going into phase 3 in the beginning of cold and flu season. I do, however, and with Santee opening, our neighbor who has numbers pretty similar to ours, a little bit better than ours in Lakeside, I think this is a great opportunity for us to hang back and kind of see what happens. I wish them the best, but we can learn from how this fares and stick with your decision to look at how everything is going on in December. I do want to offer 3 things. Students with IEP might need special considerations. Middle school and elementary schools are different. Those kids at different age levels, I don't know if a blanket decision for the district is serving, especially the parents of elementary school kids, best. I do have a daughter in TK who's in hybrid. She's doing fantastic. She was not doing great in distance learning at all. The third suggestion would be the immersion families. I am an immersion family. I normally have my child at Riverview in Winter Gardens in Mandarin, and now she's homeschooling with me. I do see this as a little bit of an education concern and a public health concern. The biggest piece of this pie to me is that it's a mental health concern for parents. That's not your job. You shouldn't be worrying about that. But everyone is looking to you to solve these mental health concerns for parents. A parent is not going to come on here and tell you that they're emotionally dysregulated and that their child is suffering from that. I called 211 today to see what kind of resources they have for emotional support and mental support for people who are on the brink of depression, anxiety, psychosis. There are so many resources across the county that are already available to us. We just need to know what they are and communicate them to our families. We should be modeling resilience as parents and the ability to adapt and overcome. We can do hard things. We can wait a few more weeks and and continue with the sound decision that you guys made. I saw that Dr. Johnson,
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. That's it? Okay. We have one more, Julie Allen, sent this in, and I'm going to read it. Hello. Thank you for accommodating my request for a written communication for public comment at this afternoon's meeting. I hope to log on and listen. I just won't be able to speak while at work. My comment follows. Thank you for the opportunity to express my thoughts on the reopening of our schools. While it saddens me that this has become such a controversial issue, I must continue to advocate for my children and ask that you please consider moving forward into phase 3, full in-person learning as soon as possible. Our children need to be back in the classroom with trained educators. The families that do not feel comfortable with their children being in the classroom have the option to stay in distance learning. The families that do not feel comfortable with distance learning need the option to return to school. I mean no disrespect to any of the teachers or staff at this request. Thank you, Julie Allen. So, no more speakers? No. Okay. So at this point, we'll move into discussion. I'm going to go ahead and start, and then we can each take turns. Several people this week have sent me a link to an article that was put out by the NPR called "Are the Risks of Reopening Schools Exaggerated?" And somebody spoke to that in the speakers today. One of the things that I really got from that immediately was a quote by Melinda Bunton, who's the chair of the Department of Health Policy at Vanderbilt School of Medicine, who said, "We are driving with the headlights off, and we've got kids in the car." And that's the way that I'm feeling about this. She has argued for opening school with precautions. In another article by her, by Melinda, called Safely Reopening Schools, Learning Amid a Pandemic, she says, "Given the limited resources of public schools, in the event of reopening, school districts should devote efforts to interventions that are well supported by public health officials and feasible to implement. First, mask requirements should be enforced for all staff and students for grades K through 12 with new dress code policies. We've done that. Second, districts should implement a practice of cohorting, a strategy for keeping small groups of students together, which in effect limits the exposure of students and staff to other contacts. We've done that. Because school districts may not have the resources or budget to make extensive changes to their facilities, this practice, coupled with modified scheduling, could allow all students to have at least some in-person instruction each week while ensuring the physical distancing. At a minimum, districts should prioritize offering in-person instruction to K-5 students. We're providing this. Students with disabilities, we're working on bringing them back daily. Students who might not be able to access remote instruction, we've provided access. And perhaps the students who were already having difficulty attaining proficiency at their grade level, we're working on that. Back to the original article, are the risks of opening the schools exaggerated? The safety measures recommended are masks, keeping students in small groups, and distancing of at least 1.5 meters or just under 5 feet. The United States is recommending 6 feet, as we all know. When a case is detected, the entire bubble is sent home to quarantine. We have opened our schools, as this article suggests. Just yesterday, the CDC expanded its definition of close contact with an individual with COVID-19. The CDC previously defined a close contact as someone who spent at least 15 consecutive minutes within 6 feet of a confirmed coronavirus case. The updated guidance, which health departments rely on to conduct contact tracing, now defines a close contact with someone who has within the 6 feet of an infected individual for a total of 15 minutes
or more over a 24-hour period. According to the CDC statement Wednesday, as a school district, we need to listen to the CDC and do our very best to follow their guidelines. Teachers have shared the individual time spent with students during hybrid models currently implemented has been quite beneficial, and they see student growth in the academic and social emotional areas. The safety of the students and staff in our district continues to be the driving force in my decision-making and weighs heavily on my mind all waking and sleeping hours. I have a nephew in the district who is impacted. I have friends with children in the district who are impacted. I take my position as a board member to protect the health and safety of all Lakeside students seriously. I have a moral and ethical responsibility to the entire district, staff, and students. I want to come back to students being in the classroom 5 days a week too. I just want to do it safely. And based on the conversations with district staff and the information I read from various sources, the CDC, HHSA, the CDHP, I don't think that can be done right now. The hybrid model is not perfect, but the staff is working diligently every day, including weekends and holidays, to make it the best it can be.
Nicely said. True. Yes, you know, I'm a parent. I'm also a parent on the PTA at Linda Park. I have, this impacts me. The kids not going to school full-time totally impacts me. So I just want everyone to know that I'm not a school board member, that this isn't impacting, that I don't have children. So, you know, most of you know that I'm a council person for Verona. So not only do I have family in more than one school at Lakeside Union School District. So this is a huge thing. It impacts me daily. I'm running kids to school and picking them up and working full time. I have to work too. So in order to help out my daughter-in-law, I have to pick up one of her children at school at Lindo Park, and then I have a nephew at Lindo Park and other cousins and everything in the district. So this is something that I live with and struggle with daily. I want our kids to be in school full time. I also have close friends that work in the district at various duties, nurses and noon duties, and I hear what they say too. So I just guess what I'm trying to say is this isn't something that I'm distant from. I'm in it. I'm in it completely. Know that the struggles that parents are going to have and that distance learning for my nieces and my nephew aren't good. You know, my nephew needs full time. My brother is a single parent trying to distance learn his son. And yeah, is it working? No, it's not for him. But right now, I don't have an answer to how we can go back full time, buses and, you know, situations of how many kids, you know, my nephew had to stay home 14 days because he told them that he was sick, you know. Well, he really wasn't sick, you know, so he's out of school for 14 days just because he said he was sick. So it's a huge thing. I don't have an answer for everyone. I listen to both sides. I take it to heart. I feel that this school board is made up of some really caring people that love Lakeside. They're not sitting on this school board because of hidden agendas. They're here just because we care about Lakeside. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you. Did we skip John?
John can go in.
Hello?
John. Hi, John. Hi, John.
Hey. This whole thing's affected everybody, even in the firefighting world. The way we do things has changed. It's not the same. Every time I enter into the incident command post area, everyone gets temperature checks. Everyone's wearing masks. Social distancing has gone throughout the entire base. That's why the equipment that I have I've been gone for basically almost the last 2.5 months, 3 months out on incidents because the equipment and the spacing that we're required to have. Now, unfortunately, the school district doesn't have the luxury of creating new buildings or putting more space in there to provide for social distancing. I know in the very beginning that was one of our hot topics about, okay, how are we going to transport kids in buses? And the discussion came up, well, meeting social distancing guidelines, you could only put 12 kids on the largest bus we have. It's a tough thing, but I do agree with what Holly stated in her comments there, that we as a board have looked at all the factors that have been involved. And granted, there's going to be one group that says one thing and another group says the other. But in the end, we have to make decisions that we believe would be the best for the safety of not only the students, but the staff that work there. And I think we have done that. Unfortunately, it doesn't please everybody. And as far as educational stuff goes, teachers are working hard to try to bridge the gaps that exist in this new style of teaching to the best of their abilities. And the staff is working diligently to try to make it happen. But like I said before, unlike the fire service, the educational system doesn't react to changes as quickly as we do. We do it all the time. We have budgeting that allows us to make quick changes to provide for more facility, where a school district doesn't. It doesn't have an emergency fund like the fire service does. So it doesn't have that money to tap into. Do I wish we had more funding and had the ability for larger classrooms and stuff? Yeah, I do. We tried that. And unfortunately, it failed. But with that being said, we have what we have at this time, and we have to make the best decision with what we have at the moment, not what we wish we would have, but what there is. So with that, turn it back to you guys. Thank you again for allowing me to speak.
Thanks, John. It's good to see you.
Yes.
We missed you.
Okay, so I'm going to speak from an educator's perspective in that this is my life, this is my world. I'm a school principal in the Poway Unified School District. I fought to open my school earlier than some of the other schools because I do believe that kids need to be back in school. We are open with an AM/PM model. I was a little hesitant about that at first because I didn't know how we would be efficiently cleaning the classrooms in 1 hour's time between the AM and PM. But we have these really amazing foggers that we walk into the classroom with, and it's working out really, really well. So we do have kids on campus 5 days a week. It still creates its own problems for the parent population in that they drop off at, 8:20 and they have to come back at 11:10 and pick up their kids. So it's still a major interruption to the parent day, but we are seeing our students 5 days a week, and it's wonderful to have students on campus again. It's just amazing. What I will say about the teachers in Lakeside and my teachers that I work with on a daily basis is that the positives of this are that they are getting to spend one-on-one time with students, and they feel like they're really able to assess where the gaps are over the last few months of the distance learning plan and be able to address them very directly and with time to invest with these kiddos. So they have also expressed, Lakeside and, my personal world, that they all feel like first-year teachers this year. I feel like a first-year principal this year. I mean, I've been doing this for 13 years now, being the principal, and so either in Lakeside or in Poway, but I've been doing it for quite a long time. So there is novelty here. So are they entitled? Yes, they're entitled to work Saturday, they're entitled to work Sunday, they're entitled to work very late into the evening to make sure that they have all of their lesson plans ready for students to learn at the maximum level. So wanting to look at a little bit of fact, I did also read the non-public radio article that was sent to us by various people, and there was some really interesting information in there, and it was something that I'm glad that I read, and I'm glad that the parents sent it, and so I got a different perspective and got some research based on their thoughts and feelings. But again, I know that this has already been mentioned. Just in my personal world, with the Dr. Eric McDonald, who's the county immunization branch of the San Diego County Health Department, so reported just in the last 2 weeks, and I know this has been said, but I want to say it again, that 125 cases of COVID-19 in the past 2 weeks, just for kids, right, as these schools are opening. How this relates to me personally is I had a positive case 5 days after opening school. Now, because of the close contact, and there is a thing, for those of you who don't know, called a decision tree, which is put out by the county health department. I have no say in this decision tree. This is just the decision tree. Because of the fact that it was on a school bus, right, all of these kids were in close contact, and then they went to different classrooms. And so they're in close contact. I ended up having to send 21 people home. Teachers, instructional assistants, students. Those kids got a packet of paper for the next 14 days. Now that to me is a lesser learning experience than just even our distance learning plan. That you've got a packet of paper, here you go home. Parents, it's all on you to figure out this whole packet of paper, because the teachers are still working and they can't do both at the same time. They can't do virtual and teach in person at the same time. So I just want to also note that nationwide, the CDC has reported 278,000 COVID cases in children. As children do not seem to have the strong effects that the adults do, they are still carriers, right? We're talking a little bit about a lot of the emails I'm getting are about herd immunity. And so I would like to say that the Mayo Clinic put out a study about herd immunity, and I'm going to trust the Mayo Clinic, right? It's the Mayo Clinic, right? And so they're saying that different diseases have a different threshold of what you have to have herd immunity. The number one factor against herd immunity is vaccinations. A lot of people don't want to get vaccinations. We heard a little bit of that tonight. So for example, 94% of the population must be immune, this is for measles, to have to stop the chain of transmission for measles. So for COVID-19, 70% of the population, more than 200 million people, would have to recover from COVID-19 to halt the epidemic. If many people became sick with COVID-19 at once, the healthcare system would become overwhelmed, right? So to date, 8.4 million cases of COVID have been reported with 223,000 deaths. That's at 20%. In order to meet that 70% threshold, we would have to increase by 50% without a vaccine. So that's a lot of deaths, and that's a lot of cases. So I'm just stating that as a fact, just so that I have facts and not emotion. At the press conference yesterday at 6:26 p.m., Dr. Wilma Wooten, the county's public health San Diego, said that in San Diego County, we have 263,000 cases and 836 deaths. We were 2 positive tests away from being put into the purple zone. I'm not sure what will happen if we are put into that purple zone, but my fear is already in Palm Springs, they've shut down dining again, they've shut down hair, they've shut down a lot of services, right, in Palm Springs. So if we're sent back to our rooms again, which we have no control over because the governor is the person who is saying this, this, and that, right? If schools shut down again, we're all in a virtual learning environment. My reasoning for my position is I want to stay out of the virtual learning environment as much as possible. So I do want to open schools. I want kids back. I wish this had never happened, but wishes aren't going to help right now because we are in the middle of this whole show. So that being said, I want to make sure that we do it safely. I get that our neighboring district is opening. Many of our neighboring districts are not opening yet. So I say, instead of being the poison tester and taking the drink of the wine to see if it's poison, let's watch and see what happens. And let's make an informed decision based on results.
Andrew?
Oh, my mic's on. Whoops. Well, those are all great comments from first off, I want to thank Holly for allowing the parents to speak and the discussion to be had and to be heard. I know that there were many parents who were concerned about not being heard, and so I'm glad that they had that opportunity. And I want to thank you for offering that tonight. So, and happy birthday, of course.
Thanks.
And I think, you know, we're all here for the kids. I don't think that there is one board member here that's not here for the kids. I think the teachers are here for the kids. The staff are here for the kids. We're all here for our students. And I just want to point out to everybody as a reminder that one of the most liked comments from the survey when we saw our Venn diagram that had the overlap, one of the most liked was, our teachers are working hard and are doing a great job. And I think that's important to mention, because I think emotions get high. So I want to mention that, because that was a survey that everybody on all sides of it said, and we heard that tonight. So I think that that's evident, and I just wanted to bring that out in a comment. A couple things that I've been thinking on. One is, I read all these different news articles. Like last week, Dr. Galley, you know, Governor Newsom's doctor with the California Department of Public Health talked about schools and said that they don't contribute to community spread. Then we see another article that says they do, and we see numbers that say they do. You know, we can dive into these numbers all day long and wonder what's happening there. But for me, when I look at this, it's really about what we are here for, and it's about a quality education. I went to school in Lakeside, I got great education, and we need to know what we're doing. And I'm going to reiterate the sentiments that I said last time. We need some data on where our kids are at. What I've heard tonight is our system is working for some and it's not working for all. I think a fundamental principle of public education is that we work for all. That is not happening right now. And I think we need to address those things that aren't working. Get input from parents and IEPs, input from teachers, by the way. I mean, it may not be working in every way for them too, and that was the sentiment I shared at last meeting as well. I also think that those who are in our district, our parents, who need some clarity on what a 5-day plan would look like. We have not talked about that. We need to. I want us to look at it. I think it's important that we talk about what that looks like, whether it be AM, PM, whether that be something. I know Grossmont Union has a completely different system that they're doing to implement moving forward. I want to highlight a point from Ms. Grosvenor. I think it was very, very thoughtful, was our middle schools and our elementary schools are different. They're not the same. And I think that we could look at, so what I'm trying to encourage us to do, and what I think is important, is that I think we can, you know, I know some will not agree with this, but I think we can do it all. I think we can balance the needs of a quality education for our kids, keep safety in there, and meet the needs of everyone so it works for everyone. That's what equity in education is about, and our public school system is founded on that principle. So I think that we have to look at those things. So for me, I'd like us to look at what a 5-day model would look like. We need to do that. There are parents who sent their kids to phase 2 expecting a 5-day plan. As it stands right now, we don't know what that looks like. And I think it's very, very important that we discuss. And by the way, I'm not going to blame anybody. That's nobody's fault. This is so new. We're trying to build a whole new system. But I think now we have an opportunity to look at what a 5-day back to school would look like. We can have, maybe we'll have some data here soon about academic achievement, because I'm unsure of, you know, we have more one-on-one time. Is that translating to academic success? I think we need to see some measures of that. So all of this to say that, you know, I think we can balance it all, and I think we do need to evaluate and look at a 5-day plan to bring our kids back 5 days. Our community expects it, and I think we need to look at that, and we need to evaluate that strongly. So again, I want to reiterate, I want to thank everybody for their comments. I want to thank my colleagues for the hard work. I know we don't all agree, and I know not everybody agrees with me. I'm really envisioning right now people at their Zooms yelling at me, and some people saying, oh yeah, that's great. So I just want everybody to know that I think I don't want to focus on all the numbers, some of these rabbit holes we can go down and spend hours and hours on. I want us to look at how are we going to get kids back in to school 5 days, or distance learning or hybrid. We've got to look at all of our options. We haven't evaluated the 5-day option, and I think we need to, and we need to look at some academic achievement. That's our role. That is our role. I got a quality education as a student here in Lakeside. So those are my comments, and I just want to thank you all for listening.
Regarding the academic achievement, Dr. Reed, the assessments are going on now, is that correct?
Yes, so we have, I reported last time that we had made the MAP assessment and the end of unit assessment voluntary. I checked with our principals and was surprised to find that maybe a little bit of pressure was off. Many of the teachers, whole schools, are doing those assessments. So I feel confident that we'll be able to, we have a school that's almost finishing MAP, a school that's right in the middle of MAP, and one that's just beginning. So the cutoff so that we can use norm reference data will be at Friday of next week, so we can get those assessments done, and then we'll be able to bring you the data that you're looking for, not for the entire district, but for, we can bring you some data points, different data points.
So at the November 12th meeting, we have some of that information?
Yeah, I can bring you some information there.
Can we also, I know a little bit of Little Park because I'm on PTA there, but at some of our other schools, elementary and the middle schools, what's the percentage of kids being sent home during the day? You know, I'm not talking COVID, I'm just saying, went to the nurse's office and said, I have a stomach ache, or I have this, and then we're sending them home, and they have to stay home for 14 days, right? Just by...
Well, if you're talking about students who are sent home because of the decision tree, so at our last meeting, Dr. Winspear, Executive Director of Pupil Services, presented on the decision tree, which is those decisions, I think.
Not a decision tree, just in the office, just what the nurses are dealing with.
Yeah, we could pull that data if we don't have it at hand.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
To see, you know.
Yeah, as of 2 weeks ago, it was 119, if I believe, I can pull it up actually. 2 weeks ago, it was 119 students sent home because they said they had one of the symptoms on the card that we asked. Right. If you'd like, I can get the data for the past 2 weeks as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
No, also at the last meeting, we talked about making changes, making positive improvements to the hybrid model, and it's only been 2 weeks. So, but do you think we'll have something on that like on November 12th? I mean, is that some improvements, some ideas?
Yes. Yeah, I can, and you can speak to it. But so at the board meeting last thank you. At the board meeting 2 weeks ago, the board did direct staff to spend some time looking at our hybrid model and identifying strengths and identifying areas for improvement. So we've been working on that. Our staff meetings happened yesterday on all of our schools, and teachers were engaged in that conversation. And I've seen some of the feedback from those meetings, and our teachers were very, very thoughtful in identifying things that are working very well, some of the things you heard this evening, and also identifying some of the challenges that we've had. So yes, we are working on some of those improvements right now.
And what about special ed? We've talked a great deal about trying to get the special ed kids and back more time.
Yes, our special ed team is working on that right now. In fact, Christine Sinatra, our special ed director, is available if you'd like her to pipe in and give you an update on the progress on that.
If she's available, that would be great.
Yeah,
that would be good.
Yeah.
I would also like to hear from the parents who are participating if we could do some sort of a survey to measure their satisfaction with the virtual learning portion of the house. You know, how is it going for them, and how can we improve? We've had a lot of input on the educator end, but I would like to hear from the parents about their experience.
Yes, perfectly happy to do that. I guess I'll take this opportunity to say that staff, so we take our direction from the board, right? And staff is prepared to go any way the board would like to go. So if the board is desirous that we continue in distance learning, that is currently where we have our energy and efforts right now, because that was the direction from the meeting 2 weeks ago. If the board is desirous of us start beginning to work on a reopening plan. For full reopening, we can definitely put our energies and efforts there. I will tell you that it's a little hard for us to be putting our time and energy in both directions at the same time. We have limited time with our teaching staff. We have limited time with our administrative staff. And as Trustee Butts mentioned again today, we're more like an ocean liner than we are like a speedboat. So some of these things take time. So currently we're working on the improvements for the hybrid model. And it would also be, at some point, it would be helpful if we knew, currently right now, we're planning for improvements because the board took action to extend through the end of the calendar year.
Hybrid model.
Yeah, the hybrid model. So that's where our efforts are right now. If we knew that we were planning for improvements for the next 6 weeks, that's certain, we'll take action based on that. If we knew we were planning through June, we would take some different actions in terms of our professional development schedules and other things. So I guess requests from me to the board would be that we know. I mean, I think you had mentioned last time about on again, off again is a little bit tough for administrators. So we're ready to go anyway, and I think as soon as we would know kind of longer term what the board desires us to do, that will help us focus our energies and efforts. But I have 2 items so far for follow-up, which is bringing back items for number of kids who've been sent home, and then survey of parents on their.
Because those virtual learning parents will stay virtual
Yeah.
if they choose to do so.
Yeah. So is that what you're asking, the distance learning, survey of the distance learning?
I see Chris Sinatra is here now to talk to us about special ed. You take your mask off, otherwise the mic doesn't pick up. People are away from you, so.
All right, good evening, and thank you for letting me come and speak with you tonight.
Hang on a second, just got a feedback thing going on.
Okay, you ready? All right, again, I'd like to say thank you for allowing me to address you tonight regarding our plans for our special day class. So what we are currently doing, Dr. Musa and I, are looking at our SBC teams and working with our SBC teams and principals to determine the best path forward for providing more instructional time for our special day class students. By tomorrow, we will have met with each team in small groups to hear what is working well, what challenges we face, and the options we have for providing more in-person instructional time, and what would need to be in place to make that possible. So far, we've learned that what we are doing a lot of things that are very successful, such as maximizing the instructional time we have with each cohort, as the smaller group sizes are allowing for very individualized instruction when the students are in school. The current model is resulting in the most safe environment that we can provide with social distancing, teaching hygiene practices, and small cohorts. Some of the challenges that have been identified are the lack of consistency with only 2 days on, 5 days off, which is challenging for many of our students. Asynchronous instruction is challenging for many of our neediest students. And live streaming is also not really an effective way for the population to increase engagement from home. So we have brainstormed ideas for increasing in-person instructional time, including an AM/PM schedule allowing for more consistency and maintaining small groups, 4 days per week of in-person instruction. There are many challenges that we will need to address when considering the 4 days per week of in-person instruction, whether it be an AM/PM or an all-day schedule. These include, is it possible to maintain safety measures with twice the number of students in the same space? Many of our students have mask exemptions or challenges that prevent them from being able to wear the mask properly. How will this affect schedules for the school and the special day class student schedule being potentially different from the general population? Do we have adequate staff to ensure small instructional groups and distancing in those groups? How will related service providers fit into this new schedule? It will affect their service schedules for the special day class students, as well as all of their other students. Our next steps are to summarize all of the data that we gathered from our meetings, determine viable, equitable options, determine costs, and other factors such as transportation and other designated services. Then we'd like to meet with the teams again to review the data and options and make final recommendations. Questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Anybody else have something they want to talk about? Bring back out? So, I'm curious, like, when we go, we say phase 3 in person every day, but it would be short days, right? Because we couldn't do a whole day, right?
We would look at our schedules. We'd have to look at all the schedules. Currently, our day is a little bit, about 40 minutes shorter right now. And we could keep that schedule. We could look at extending to a regular school day again. We'd have to analyze all that.
Because, you know, I listened to the lunch duty.
Right.
The noon duty.
Right.
So she's saying that, you know, if we brought back all those kids, how are we going to possibly even break them to give them food and feed them when we have? So I was just thinking, you know, if it's 5 days a week, then is it going to be like an AM PM over in Poway? Are we going to do morning for a few hours and then afternoon and then everyone's on campus?
So
because we don't have enough space. I'm just trying to wrap my brain around it a little bit as a parent.
I think it comes down to again, trade-offs. So if we are going to bring all the students back onto campus, it's going to be impossible to maintain a full 6-student distance. We would continue to get as much furniture out as we could and try to distance as much as possible. But you're talking, the classrooms are going to look pretty similar to what they looked like before we left. So that's one piece. Principals have worked on their lunch schedules, recess schedules at the middle school, passing periods to try to minimize number of students out at the same time. So that would have to be analyzed as well with the full student body back on campus. And as the speaker said, currently it's true. You look at the lunch tables and you've only got 3 or 4 kids there and they're all fully distanced. If you had double the kids, you'd be back to something that looks a little bit more like a normal lunch period. So some of those are the pieces that, again, so if we were to go that way, staff would need, 2, 3, 4 weeks to kind of work out all those schedules along with transportation and food service generally across the district, those kind of pieces.
And then when there's a test positive COVID, then we have a bigger group that we would have to send home.
Everybody would be close contact. If it was in a classroom, everybody would be considered close contact.
It would be, I don't know if it would be everybody, but it would certainly be a greater number, right? If you had kids, so the case we had at the school a month or so ago, I guess about a month ago, when we did the tracing, it was found that, there no student or staff was within 6 feet for 15 minutes. So it was just a single student who quarantined, and nobody else had to do that. But yes, as we talked about 2 weeks ago at the meeting, if you had a full class of students, there would be one here, one here, one here, one here, and then in the other classes as well. So it would be a larger number of students having to quarantine.
I get that it's just really difficult. I run a business that has large amounts of people come through the door every day, but it's really serious. I mean, mask, 6 foot, it's really crazy, cleaning. And we still have test positive. Well, because we had item E added later, it has to do with what we're talking about right now. Andrew, I'm going to go ahead and start by saying I'm out of town the first week of November because I plan my trips around the board meetings and I'm not here. I'm not sure that we can't discuss anything on the 12th that we could discuss the week before that. But you can go ahead and speak.
Well, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Holly, I appreciate it. Let me just speak to the rationale behind why I thought that it's important that we have a separate meeting from our general business meeting to talk about coronavirus and its impact on our schools and how we're going to reopen and all the rest. We have so much general business in the district that's not just focused on safely reopening our schools. We also have budgets. We also have bond items that we need to look over. We have many different items to look over, and I think that we are allowed to be more thoughtful about these really critical issues if we have a separate opportunity to do so. And my belief is that, and this is sort of to Vice President Lachapa's point from a minute ago, was I do believe that a 5-day option needs to be discussed, and I think we have to revisit that in our reopening plan. I really believe that it's important. We have Santee moving back on November 30th. I'm very concerned about the impact that will have on our district and the number of students that remain in our district if we aren't going to give parents a clear mind of when our district intends to have a full phased-in 5-day-a-week model. Again, those models need to be discussed. To this point, as it stands now, we have not discussed those items. I think we need to do so in order to provide clarity. So those are things that are important. We can talk about, well, if we talk about it here, November 30th, let's say we started in, whenever in January 1st, let's say, I don't even know what day of the week that is, but let's say that was what it was. That would provide clarity to parents. But I think that discussion needs to be had with all of the details that comes with the logistics, all of the achievement data that we're going to have. I think all of these things need to come into that balanced discussion, but we have yet to have that decision. And I think everybody feels like, everyone, on the face of this world right now, that our destinies, as we've said, are not being controlled by us. We have an opportunity to create a chance where we can exert some local clarity and control on the destiny of where we send achievement for our kids in this district. So I really want to encourage that we do that we revisit the district reopening plan at that time with some discussion of a 5-day plan, because we haven't had it. So, I'm making a motion on this because that's what this requires. So it's up for discussion, but that's my motion. I would ask for a courtesy second to continue discussion.
Is that your motion?
Well, my motion is that the board revisit the district's reopening plan at a special board meeting in the first week of November, and I'd like to encourage a courtesy second for discussion.
I'll do a courtesy second.
Okay. Thank you.
But then I would like to have discussion.
Yep, discuss. Fire away. You seconded. Fire away.
I'm also unavailable that first week of November because I made my plans around board meeting as well. However, Andrew, I also understand that you're asking for, I would imagine that you would want district data at this meeting if we're going to make an informed discussion, right?
Well, yes.
And if that data is being gathered as we speak, are you able to turn that around that quickly, Ken? I can't do the first week. Let's number one do that. I can't do the first week. Holly can't do the first week.
Oh,
So
what
that's going to be.
what about the week after? Instead of, how about the 19th? That's not the day before Thanksgiving, no, it's not, no. But I guess Thanksgiving must be the 26th.
I would encourage the earlier, the better.
Well, the earliest I could be here would be, the 16th, if you want to meet. I'm going to get back into town on the 10th, and we have our meeting on the 12th, so we could meet the week after that. We could meet the 13th, but nobody really wants to come on Friday the 13th, I don't think. So,
I have a meeting on Friday the 13th.
I really do. Then if you don't want to wait till the 19th, we can have the 16th, 17th, 18th. I don't have anything that would prevent us from having it any day that next week. If you think Thursday seems to be the day that we meet, so.
Sure, I am, just so you all are aware, my position, as I said, the sooner the better. I will be there, so, that's a fact. So whatever it is, I will be there.
So I can say everyone's looking for calendar.
Very, very full. I'm available on Wednesday, the 18th. I can do the 19th. I can do Monday, the 16th. too.
Are we talking like 4:35, or are we talking morning?
Oh, I work.
Okay.
Me too.
I work,
too.
I work.
I work too.
4:30, 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah, time.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah, any of those dates that, Rhonda threw out, I'm good too. As long as they're in the evening.
I can pretty much do any time that week except for the 17th.
Dr. Reed, will we have, if we wait until the 19th, are we gonna have more data than we'll have on the 16th, 17th? Oh, pretty much.
I think most pivotal map, pivotal data that you'll look at is map, and I think that we'll be ready to go by the 16th.
Okay. What happened to the 16th, Andrew? What about the district calendar? I don't know how those things work. Are we okay on the 16th? Mondays are good for me. Mondays are good for you? Yeah. All right. Well, would you like to amend your motion?
Yeah, I'll amend my motion that we do our special meeting to revisit the district's reopening plan on November 16th, seeing how that's when everyone's available. Courtesy second?
Second. Any more discussion?
I would just like.
The calendar again, sorry.
Okay.
Are you good, Rhonda?
I'm good.
Okay.
I would like to just reiterate the idea that, so there's clarity on what I mean by revisiting the plan, is that I think there should be a robust discussion of a 5-day plan, so we can provide clarity. That's 2 weeks from when Santee starts. And I think that it's important that we look at all of these plans, all these models. We've got to have a discussion about what that would look like so we can do it. So I just want to reiterate that point. That's very important.
May I ask a question? Thank you. So that I'm clear, when the board says a discussion and a model of a 5-day plan, are we discussing 5 days, full days, or are you including AM, PM?
I'm talking about models for bringing kids back to school 5 days.
Even if we're half days?
I'm open to, we need to look at it. We haven't had a discussion, so that's why I want to look at it.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is John still with us? John? Yes. Did he vote for you?
You hear me?
Yeah, John, we can hear you.
Okay.
So are you an aye for the 16th? We didn't include John in that calendar talk. We're sorry, John.
It's all good.
Is that an aye?
No. Is that an aye, John?
Yes. Aye.
Okay. Thank you, John. Okay. Then now we'll go to the consent agenda. I move that we put all the items on the consent agenda.
I second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Okay. Now we'll approve the consent. Somebody want to make a motion to approve? I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Okay. I didn't hear him. Okay, thank you. Well, then this meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you. Okay, my next will be here till 7:20.